Hi everybody, welcome back to the amazing Dune Awakening, and in this video I just want to discuss the PvP and PvE aspects of this open world survival, massively online multiplayer game set in the science fiction world of Dune. And I just want to reassure people that if you're thinking about diving into Dune but you really fancy the PvE side of things, so the survival side of things, building bases, crafting stuff, exploration, doing the story, doing the side quest and all that sort of stuff, and just kind of existing in this world without having to worry about getting griefed by someone on a public server, because of course this is an always online type of game. I'm here to say, don't worry, you can. Now let me just get my character inside before the sun comes up, because that's not good. We want to be inside if we can, and in the shadow. So what I'm going to do is, let me just quit out of here, exit to main menu, and kind of explain how things work. So Dune Awakening is a third-person adventure, survival, open world game set in the Dune universe, which is set in the far future, but is this strange mix of high technology and low technology. So las shields, force shields and knives. You know, that's the thing. You know, spaceships that can fly across the galaxy, but giant sandworms that can eat you when you're in the desert. It's really nice, really great. Highly recommend reading the books. The films that came out recently are really cool as well. But the way that the game works is it's this great mix of PvE with optional PvP if you want it. So that area that I was just in is called the Haga Basin, and it's where kind of everybody starts off. This is the area here. It's an absolutely huge area, and I think I'm kind of down here, and as you progress through the story and through the mission and through the side quest, you kind of go through and you're picking up XP, so your character is exploring various different skill trees to get better as a soldier, or better as a botanist, or better as all sorts of things. It's really cool that way, and also better equipment and the ability to make different things. It's really very, very well done as you're kind of progressing through it like that. And all of this area, unless you're on a private server where they've turned the safe areas off, basically most of it is PvE with specific PvP areas. So let's say I'm wandering around here, around at the bottom, and then here we go. Say one of these ships comes down and crashes. Now it will be full of really cool resources to farm, but that will be a PvP area. So if I go there, I've got to be careful. And it will warn you whenever you go into these areas that are PvP. It will say, "Oh, by the way, you're going into a PvP area now, so you can choose to carry on or you can choose to come away." It's not like you can build your base. Say you're building your base somewhere down here, and someone can come along and grief you and like raid your base and do all that sort of stuff. You know that you can't. You can set who can get into your base. You can even allow friends into your base and stuff like that, but it's not like they can come and kill you and raid and nick your stuff. I mean, I guess if you just left your vehicles, actually even your vehicles and things have keys on, so you can't just jump on one and go off on it, which is fine. So don't worry about that. They've said that basically you can complete all of the story and I think most of the side quests and the quests and the exploration without having to do any PvP at all. And also the way that it kind of works is that, so you've got a Haga Basin, and then you've got these social hubs as well at Harko Village and Arakeen. So when you visit these places, you're going to meet people from other Haga Basins, and I'm going to explain that in a second as well. So these are social places where there's no PvP. You do other things there, which I won't go into, but there's other things that you can do. You can trade, and you can buy and sell, and you can do guild stuff. And there's also going to be other locations that appear. But then, if you want to, you have the deep desert. So the deep desert is a bit like the dark zone in the Division. It's like once you're kind of geared up and you've got some good weapons and good resources, and maybe you've got an ornithopter and you've got really good spice mining equipment, you might go, right, I'm ready for the deep desert. And when you go into the deep desert, it's PvP. Even with friendly fire on. It's incredibly dangerous. Every week there's a wipe, and the map gets wiped, and all the points of interest are in different places. So things like the botanical testing stations and various sietches and all this sort of stuff move. And then you go in again. It's very, very dangerous, but you choose to do that when you go in. And also, the game as a whole is pretty forgiving when it comes to dying. When you're in Haga Basin and you're wandering around, and say, you die of thirst, well, you can respawn at your base if you've got it already, or these various checkpoints where you'll respawn, and you'll have, I think you keep almost all of the stuff that was on your body, so your still suit if you've got it, and your weapon and things like that, and you just lose some resources. Not always all of them either from your backpack. And if you can find your backpack and it's marked on the map, you can pick it up and you get everything back. If you die, however, by being eaten by a sandworm, or you get caught in a sandstorm, then you lose, I think you lose all your stuff. You might keep some of the stuff that's on your back. If you're in a PvP area and you get killed, they can nick what you've got. But it's not like you lose your base or anything. It doesn't have permadeath where that character's dead and you lose all your progression. You've got to start working through the skill trees again. Don't worry about it. It's very relaxed when it comes to doing that. I'm not saying that survival isn't challenging. I'm not saying that combat against the NPCs isn't challenging. It definitely can be, especially if there's a lot of them. And exploration is challenging. Dealing with hydration and all that stuff is challenging. But if you die, it's not the end of the world. It's not like something like DayZ where you're starting again from scratch that way. So we've got all these PvE areas. It's mostly PvE, and we've got these optional PvP areas. What I'll do in the description below this video, I'll put links to these little articles that talk about the PvP side of it and kind of describe these other areas that you can go into. That's Harko Village, which is quite small. There's Arakeen. Again, they're a social hub. Maybe think about, like in Destiny or Destiny 2, when you would go to the Citadel, was it? And then all the players would kind of be wandering around together, wouldn't they? And chatting to each other and going to traders and things like that. And that's kind of the deep desert. There can be no map for the deep desert because it changes so often. Right, so let's kind of talk about how the server system works, because this is where it's a little bit complicated. So when you boot up Dune and you go into the servers, you'll see official servers, recent, private. And so when you go to look at an official server, there's all these names here. And these are all worlds. They're all Arrakis, but they're separate worlds. So you choose which one you're going to be in, and you're going to stay in that one. You can come out of it, but you're only going to stay in that one because that's where the progress of your character is going to be. So you go into this world, and within this world, there's all these different names again. Now, these are all different instances of the Haga Basin. All right. So whichever one you choose, that's going to be your home Haga Basin, where when you build, that's where your base is going to be. That's where your stuff is. Now, you can visit other Haga Basins here that are within this world, but you won't be able to build there. I think you can help friends and do stuff like that, but your character, they'll have all their stuff with them, and you'll be able to build the things you'll be able to craft the things that you could craft and on your particular Haga Basin. But what you can't do is come out of your world and go to a different world without starting again from scratch. You'll be starting again from scratch when you do that. You'll still be keeping this character that was here, but you'll be starting again from scratch. So these are all kind of together in like this spider web of Haga Basins. So imagine you've got all these Haga Basins, and these Haga Basins, what they then do is they then feed into, if we go back to this video here, they then feed into these communal areas for that world, Arakeen, Harko Village, and the deep desert. So you will meet other people that are in sort of other Haga Basins outside of yours in these communal areas. Or you could go to the Haga Basins, but generally the way it works is you'll be staying on your version of Haga Basin doing what you've got to do. Now, obviously, what you can do if you want is you can take out a private server, and I would say the reason I'm playing this is because Funcom and Nitrado were very kind enough to send me a key to the game and set me up with a private server to learn all this stuff. And then what a private server gives you is the ability to have your own Haga Basin behind a password, and you can change a few of the things. So if we go to the private servers here, for example, here's the world that I'm on, Nitrado EU West 39. These are all the different kind of Haga Basins that are within our world, and there's my one, with a padlock, which means that it's protected by a password. So there's only me or the people I give the password to can be on that server. And I can, you can't change much at the moment, but you can turn sandstorms off, you can turn base taxing off, and you can turn PvE off, so it's PvP everywhere. So if you wanted to have like a hardcore server, where everybody could shoot everybody, then you could do that. Or maybe you could have like a weekend where you turned it off and say, right, okay, at the weekends anything goes. So if you've got a reasonably large group of friends or a Discord community or something like that, where it kind of makes sense, where you could come together as a group so that the monthly cost isn't that expensive, then a private server may well be something that you would want to do. However, there's nothing wrong if you're playing by yourself and you want to play solo, but you just want PvE. You can do that on public servers as well. You can avoid the PvP elements of the game and enjoy the exploration and the crafting, because for me as well, that's something that I have super duper enjoyed and has been a highlight of the game. I think they're very true to the feel of the books and the films, and so far I was very skeptical before I started playing. I thought, no, how could they won't capture it, and the story, how can this fit in with the story? I'm not going to give anything away, but it kind of does. The way that they do it is in a very clever way, a very subtle way, and so far I have been incredibly impressed with this. So that's kind of how the PvE PvP works. Just like in something like The Division, it's completely optional. You can wander around like you would in The Division or The Division 2, where you're wandering around the PvE areas, just picking up your stuff, crafting, leveling up your character, and then when you want to go PvP, you can visit those crash sites of those helicopters, or you can go to the deep desert, and then you're in the dark zone, if you like, as it would be in The Division, and you can have your fun that way. So there we go. Hopefully this is useful. The game will progress. These are very, very early days yet, but it is absolutely fantastic. I highly recommend you jump in as soon as you can. And of course, I'll see you all again soon. Thank you. Bye.